Greetings, I am Herbert Erpaderp, and today we are going to have a look at what's in this box. Quite clearly it's a Steyr Schweren Schienenpanzerspähzug. It's an artillery wagon with a Panzer III Ausführung N turret, and it's a 35th scale kit by T-Model in partnership with Dragon, all of which I doubt you could have figured out just by looking at the box, so I'm definitely being very helpful here. Inside the box, the first thing I noticed is a bag of rocks. I was kind of curious why the box weighed a fair bit more than your average model kit does, and that explains it. It's obviously for the ballast for the railway tracks that the box mentions are included, and, well, it's probably going to be a little bit messy, but it should end up looking much more realistic than the kind of tracks you often get in this kind of kit with the moulded in ballast. Not that there's anything particularly wrong with those, this'll just look a bit more convincing. Speaking of tracks, here they are. I'm not entirely sure if there should be two sets of 2 sprues for this stuff, but that's what I got. These look to me like they're identical, so I don't think it's a replacement for a defect or anything like that, and it seems like there's way more track than I would need, but it's certainly not a problem. The parts do look rather good, and they're very well detailed. Probably pretty easy to put together too. It's just rails, I guess, but I found this kind of impressive looking. Let's look at the actual vehicle. This first sprue contains mostly body panels, plates, whatever you might call them. It's got the floor, ends, and top, as well as a couple of hatches and some other doodads. The detail here is very nice. There's some prominent bolts and rivets, and while I can't really tell if they're overscale or not, they do look good and should catch paint really nicely, and that makes weathering fun. Next, we have 2 of these sprues, which have side plates, wheels, and a whole bunch of tiny little details. You'll notice that one of them has a bit more, things like shovels and other tools. That section has been clipped off from one of the sprues, and I assume maybe they used them in another kit, though it would have been nice to have extras. Again, the detailing here is rather nice. There are some mould lines on these parts. I mean, mould lines are pretty much ever present in this hobby, so it's not surprising they'd be here, and fortunately, in this kit they're not too bad, and won't take too much work to deal with. And here's the sprue with the turret parts. I could repeat myself and say that the detail here is really good and nice, and that the mould lines are minimal and won't take too much work to remove. And I guess I just did that. But you can see the parts for yourself. I don't think you need me to tell you anything, but I will because I'm very helpful. The only thing that I can see so far that I'm not really keen on is that the gun seems to come in 2 halves. A nice slide-molded single-part gun might have been a bit better, but this is probably fine too. We'll just have to see when I build it. It's not likely to be an issue. Here's another turret sprue. It contains far fewer turret parts, and I'm not sure why we're getting another turret bottom, but there must be a reason. It's probably just some minor details that make it an Ausführung N turret. I don't know because, well, I haven't looked into it. I'm just looking at the bits of plastic here, and, well, now we've done that. That's all the plastic in this kit. It does, of course, include decals. It's a bit hard to photograph white on light blue, and thus it's a bit hard to see them, but they do look pretty decent. There's not a lot of variety in the markings, but I don't think you really need variety in this case. The instructions have this almost menacing front cover. I kind of wonder if the T in T-Model, and the red eye, is a reference to the Terminator. Anyway, the physical format of the instructions is a little bit odd, at least in my opinion. It's kind of tall and narrow, and they are the kind of fold-out instructions that I'm not a big fan of, but I probably won't complain about that too much. The important thing is the diagrams themselves, and those look pretty decent. They seem clear and easy to understand and follow, without too many things to do in any one step. Of course, I won't know if there are any problems until I attempt to use the instructions, obviously, and if anything awful does happen, I'll let you know in the build video. It's not something I'm anticipating though. At the back of the instructions, there's a marking guide, and I guess technically it's also a painting guide, but it's just grey, so not really much guidance needed there. It will definitely be helpful when it's time to apply decals. And that is what's in the box. I think this is a pretty interesting subject for a model. It's a bit unusual, so while it's still kind of like a tank, it isn't one. And it's good to do different things from time to time, even if they're only very slightly different. As the youth say, variety is the spice of life. I'm pretty excited to start building this thing, and so I'll begin soon. I'll be doing this on my Monday morning streams, probably in a couple of weeks from the time this video is published. More specifically, the 21st of November. Obviously, things can change, but I'm not going to edit and re-upload this video, so the best way to know when I'll be working on this is by checking the schedule on my Twitch channel, which is where I'll be streaming this build. You can find the link in the description below. As is tradition, a build video will follow here on YouTube, so keep an eye out for that. If you've not already done so, subscribing here on YouTube is free, and it'll help you see when that video is ready. If you want to see it a bit earlier, consider becoming a patron. One of the benefits of doing so being that you can see the videos early before there's any ads. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the comment section below. You can find links to Patreon and all of my other things like Discord and social media in the description below. And, as always, I shall return soon. So until then, be excellent to each other, have a fantastic day, and thanks for watching. Farewell.